Maybe you can look on your phone every time or two. Hello there. Welcome to home training. This is where we quarantine within our quarantine, my she shed. I'm Tiffany Larson, and this is my daughter, Auburn. She's actually home from college. This is such a strange time for everybody. She is spending 8 hours a day in front of her computer studying, and she herself will say neck, shoulders, hips. It's a position that takes a lot of stress and strain prolonged, and so taking some micro breaks to restore, rejuvenate, kind of nourish your body is really important. So maybe you don't find yourself in front of the computer, perhaps you are overusing your muscles. I hear of friends who are exercising so much, they're too sore, too stiff to even sit down on the ground and play games with their kids and stuff. So whatever your situation might be, I hope you'll find some tools in your toolbox to add some mobility through your shoulders, some mobility through your spine, through your hips. Whenever we think of improving mobility and flexibility, there's a lot of strength that has to accompany those movements. So today we'll look at a combination of strengthening and stretching. I'll cue you as we go. I know you're here to move, so I don't want to talk for too long. We're going to start with just limbering up the hips. A lot of times in Pilates we start on the mat, but today, just because it's such an unusual time, I want to make sure that we are upright, moving away from that sitting position and finding some strength, finding some balance. Think of the crown of the head to the tailbone, that spine just being a long antenna, like a flagpole. It stays steady no matter what the movements of the hips might be. In addition, we could take this to a hip circle. So finding that hip knee rotation, moving to the sides. You could do hands on your hips, it doesn't matter, hands at your sides. But notice you're tracking from internal rotation to external rotation, letting that ball and socket just swivel in the hip joint. So hip circles. In addition to these, we could do a little bit of Frankenstein walks, those nice hamstring movements. Straight leg kicks. I say straight leg, my knees bent. I'm a bit tight in my hamstrings, tight in the low back today. So accommodate where you need to be. Notice if you're overly flexing your spine. So I'm just turning sideways here. Can I lift my leg without rounding over? Just create that nice lengthening through the hamstring, and don't sacrifice your spine. Great. And then pause. Go back to your marches here. I want you to think about picking that knee up beyond your hip. So lifting to like 120 degrees rather than being stuck at 90 where we sit. Now the opposite of hip knee flexion is hip extension. To do that, you're going to kick your butt. Draw that heel to your backside. At the same time, feel like you're drawing your belly in towards your back, not overarching your back. And I'll turn sideways here. It sounds kind of strange, but this is the movement we do when we're walking. In order for me to progress my leg forward, to get clearance of my toes from the ground, I have to have hip extension. And guess what we lose when we're sitting a lot? We lose that hip extension because we're so tight in our hip flexors. So continue, yeah, a few more here. You can take your legs wider if that feels better to you. If you play a lot of tennis, right, my tennis friends, your ready position is often here in a more athletic stance. Again, it may be hard to stand up straight. It may be hard to extend. Let's take that extension over to a straight leg extension. So a little pressing back. Can we press back without overarching through your low back and pelvis? One way you do that is by stabilizing low belly into back, and then find hip extension, hip extension, hip extension. Awesome. All right, one more, just some dynamic mobility, a bit of balance work. Take the arms out in front, lengthen through the crown of the head, and then find a straight leg lower, kind of like a seesaw, and bring yourself back up. We'll alternate here a few times. So it's similar to maybe a single leg deadlift, working the hamstrings, working the tush, counterbalancing a bit with those arms reaching out in front. A couple more, you'll feel a great stretch through the hamstrings, and perhaps you can progress this a little further. Maybe those hands can work their way down to the ground. Don't be surprised if one side feels more challenging than the other. And I want to say too, work at your own pace. You know your body better than anybody. If you have a hip replacement, knee replacement, back issues, it's the mind that builds the body. We don't want mindless movements. We want to be disciplined in how we move, and then take a little rest there and just swing your arms out and be aware. We can always modify. And then from here, we'll look a little bit at some squats. I'm going to have you take the arms back behind you as you press those hips back behind. And then as you lift like you're throwing a ball overhead, bring those arms up. There's your extension plane. We can drop down, sinking in the hips, and then driving up into extension. Repeat that a few times, getting low and getting high. Low and lift. Good. A few more times here. See how low you can get those hips to the earth as you sit. So this is going to start feeding into some ankle flexibility. Good. Last time here, pause low. Bring the arms out in front. Feel like you're still sitting on a chair. We're going to go lower. Now, I can't go much lower without lifting my heels. So I'm going to slowly move down towards a squat crouch position by lifting my heels, and then lift back up, coming up to standing. Let's try that again. Deep work through the hips, through the ankles. Now curl your belly and your ribs into you. So you've got some support through your spine as you lower and as you lift. But let's do it one more time. I'm going to turn sideways for you. Feel your ribs and your belly pulling in. You sit low, kind of like chair pose in yoga, but then we go even lower. Start to let those hips sink towards your heels. Awesome. Good range of motion. Hips, ankles, knees, and then bring yourself back up. Good. Roll those shoulders back, and then lift the arms overhead. A little bit of a lateral side lean. Take hold of your right wrist and side bend over. The rib cage, the term is lateral translation. The rib cage is moving to one side. It's opening up your intercostals. You breathe into that space and then bring yourself back up. Opposite hand to wrist. Feel level through those feet. Find a little side bend and feel how your rib cage moves over and up. We want our thoracic region to be mobile. Bring it back up. This time take your hands towards your rib cage. As you side bend, I'm going to press with my left hand into my ribs so I feel that right side start to lift and open. Taking the arms out of the equation is sometimes a nice way to find lateral side bending. And then bring it back up to the center. When you think about your golf game, your tennis game, life in general, you need a mobile thoracic spine for rotation, for side bending, for extension. Good, let's do that one more time with the arms up overhead again. If you want, just steeple the hands, fingers together, side bend. Allow the hips to now move to that side as well. Get a bit more of the IT band here in that stretch. And then bring yourself back up. Nice breath in opposite direction, allowing the hips to glide as well as that rib cage. Good. And then bring it back up. Take your hands behind your back. You may reach them down to your low back, towards the tailbone. Draw your belly in. Little head ramp. So instead of letting your neck project forward, we want to pull the brain, the head back behind the heart. And then feel a nice shoulder stretch. If you need a deeper stretch, you could start to progress the arms away from your backside, but do so without overarching into your back. We don't want to collapse into that spine. Good. And then release those arms. Hip width apart, a little further. We're going to work the spine mobility a bit here. So still just kind of warming up some movement, some planes of motion. Inhaling here as you exhale, start to curl your low back, your mid back, your upper back, all the way through the crown of the head. So you've made a giant letter C shape with your spine. And then reverse that. Feel some length through the tailbone, through that mid-back. Try to pull your heart through your hands, and you're gazing slightly up, but not at the expense of overly extending the neck. Pull your heart forward. Good. Do that again. Just find some mindful movement through your spine. Your spine has got an ability to stabilize, but it also inherently has some very generous mobility available to it, yet sometimes certain parts of our back get really stiff. So taking your time, let's think about just your lumbar. So can you just curl your tailbone, draw your belly in, curl the low back, but keep the rest of your spine lengthening? And then reverse that into some extension. Repeat that a couple times, just from the tailbone lumbar, because it's the low back that often gets the most stiff, and it kind of forgets that it has the ability to flex as well as extend. You might get stuck in extension. Try it one more time. Curl, and this time let it pass all the way through. Return to that flat back position. Let's find rotation. So with the hands still on the thighs, you might want to go a little further apart with the legs. Just bring one shoulder over towards the knee. So this gets us back into, again, thoracic rotation. That's just been a real theme of mine. It's so important. Reverse that. We don't want to overly rotate through our lumbar spine. And to avoid doing that, we have to preserve mobility in the thoracic spine. In addition, we know that a stiff thoracic spine contributes to a stiff rib cage, and a stiff rib cage is going to compromise your ability to take a nice deep breath. And during a respiratory pandemic, there's nothing better we should be doing with our time and with our exercise than generating a really great deep breath. That's how we expand. One more time here. Nice little rotation. And then back through the center. Bring yourself up. Roll those shoulders back and down. We're going to move to our mat now and start with just a couple of lunge shapes. So I'm going to have my right foot out in front. Hands can come down along that front foot, so you can frame your front foot. Now I gave you blocks on, if the ground feels far away and you want blocks, you're welcome to that. Curl your back toes under, lift your belly in, and just extend that back leg. We're going to bend and straighten here a few times. Bending the back knee, and straighten. And bend. Can you bend and straighten while keeping belly in the backbone? I want you to really think of that core connection. Abdominals connect to the ribs, abdominals connect towards the hips. We want to be strong through that center corset of the body. One more time. It's our powerhouse. It's where we drive the greatest energy. Hold that long line here. Feel the crown of the head reaching forward, your heel reaching back, you're centered on that front foot. Now, if you want to strengthen in this position, try to hover your hands. Yeah, staying low, grounding that driving force from the ground up through the quadricep, hamstring. And then return the hands to the earth, bend that back knee, and find your way to a 90-90 lunge. A muscle sandwich. You're going to draw your belly in so that you've created abdominal contraction. There's also a little bit of glute action on the left side here, which again is bringing me into hip extension. That position that we tend to lack from sitting so much. Now we're creating a stretch just by virtue of the belly and the behind working together to open up your hip flexor. We can add to this by lifting the left arm by the left ear. Now you feel a long line from your pinky, through the shoulder, through the hip, through the knee. Should feel like a little bit of a greater stretch to that hip. If you wanted a little bit more here, right hand to the left wrist, and a little side bend to your right. Good. Breathe in there. And then returning back to the center, bring the hands up. Let's take the hands behind your head for a minute. So they're supporting you. Press your head back into your hands. This brings us back to that idea of our head being behind our heart. We know what happens when we project our head forward, collapsing the sternum and around our shoulders. that's not a really healthy posture to maintain. So we want to work in our exercise to restore healthy alignment. Pressing the head back into the hands, just rotate to your right. So we're rotating again through the thoracic. Inhale back to the center. Exhale, your hips are staying level, your low back is staying supported. It's the rib cage above the belly button. Good. That's moving. One more time. Rotate to your right. And then pause there. Can you reach your fingers wall to wall? You're shining your heart towards the back of the room. And then return to the center and take those hands. Let's go now down by the front foot. We're going to take a half split here. So a little moving, inhaling back. Front toes lift up a bit. And then exhale, lunge forward. Now, you may need to back that left knee up a bit. You may need to move your right foot forward. That's all fine. Don't feel like whatever position you landed in, you have to stay there. So working back and forth, a couple of dynamic hamstring stretches here. Feel like you're pulling your heart forward. So I'm trying not to overly round my back. I want to avoid collapsing and I want to find a sense of length. One more time here. Sit back. Adjust the hands as you need to. Breathe there. And then bringing it back up. We're going to make a little pivot towards a wide-legged straddle. So we've got our legs, feet here further than hip distance apart. And just move back and forth. Just feel a gentle stretch. Tune into your body. Can you still lift your core? Can you still lift your rib cage? Let's pause. It doesn't matter which side. Just pause there. Lift up that toe. Pull your heart forward. Good. Moving back through the center, opposite side. Pause there. Lift the opposite toe. Release. Good. We're going to walk our way over to the left side now. So now my left foot is in front. Bend and straighten that back leg a few times. Can I still connect my belly to back here? So even though I'm dropping my knee, I'm not dropping my butt. Pull those abdominals in, pull the ribs gently in. Feel a lot of energy and support. And then rest that back knee down. We're moving back to our 90-90 position here. So from here, bring the hands behind your head. Press your head into your hands. Feel like you're driving your right hip forward, slightly tractioning back with the left. There's a stretch to be found here. There's an abdominal connection to be found here. Press the head into the hands. Now, keep that shape as you extend the arms overhead. Take hold of that right wrist. As you exhale, find a gentle side bend again. Imagine the spine gently flexing. Okay? All gentle. Still some work, still some balance, but we're not tugging and pulling into these shapes. Return yourself back up. Take the hands behind the head. Let's add rotation. Inhale to lengthen and exhale, rotate. Inhale back center. Relax the shoulders. Notice if you're wearing your shoulders as earrings. Keep them gently down. One more time, friends. Find the rotation. Pause here. Can you extend the arms? Shining the heart gently forward as you keep the hips square to the wall in front. And then return back to the center. Frame the hands by the front foot. You may need to inch it forward a little bit. We're moving into that hamstring stretch. So inhale here. As you exhale, gently stretch back. Let's move through this a few times. Feel like you're lengthening your heart forward. The spine is most important. We want to feel that length from head to tail. And don't worry so much if you're not straightening that front knee. Okay. Inhaling forward. As you exhale, draw back from the tailbone. Pause here, breathe here. Maybe you even want to let go of a little more tension. Allow the head and shoulders to rest down towards that front shin. Good. And then back to the center. Walk yourself back. And we're finding our way to that wide straddle again. A little different option this time. Pull the heart forward. Maybe your hands walk out a little bit more in front. And then allow your head and shoulders to gently rest. Keep your sitting bones over those heels. Take the right hand towards your left shin, introducing a little rotation here as you look under that left shoulder. Breathe there. Return back to the center. Left hand's turn. Feel flat back here. Reach left hand over towards the right shin. There'll be a degree of rotation as that left rib kind of rotates towards the right hip. Bend the knees if you need to. Good. And then back to the center. Bring yourself down. We'll come down to a kneeling position here. Take a good breath in. Bring the hands back to the rib cage. And notice the expansion you get through your intercostal muscles. That's our inhale, like an accordion expanding. Your exhale is beneath the belly button, gently drawing into your backbone, stabilizing your lumbar spine. Okay? So it's the 2-for-1 deal. Increase your lung volume, stretching, widening those intercostals. Deepen your abdominal strength, drawing the belly to the backbone, protecting that lumbar spine. We're going to employ that breath during our exercises. You can employ it any time during the day. All right, so next motion here, and this is kind of interesting. Just moving here, kind of an abbreviated squat, is again an exercise in hip extension. I want you to engage, contract those glute muscles, zipper up with the belly so we're not flaring the ribs, we're connected. 2 more times. So a nice modified sit to stand squat motion here. We'll hold this one up, hips open, take that right leg towards the side. Moving back and forth, your hands can be on your hips here. We're finding some hip excursion. We're using that ball and socket joint, the head of the femur, to gently mobilize the hip joint. We're still protecting the low back, feeling those abdominals connecting in. And if you ever do yoga, you'll find we can hold here for a minute. You may want to inch that foot out a little further, knee slightly behind the toes. You'll feel your warrior 2 shape here. Inhale, lift the arms overhead, and exhale, find that warrior 2. One more time, and lift, and reach, and then bring it back together. All right, opposite side. So left hip, knee, toe, all going in the same direction. Hands can be on the hip, and then just feel that stretch for the inner thigh, supporting yourself through the abdominals, not allowing the back to overarch. Can we still lengthen through the crown of the head? And how about that breath? Can we inhale deeply and exhale to return? Adding the arms if you like, looking out over that front hand. Lifting, 2 more times there. And reach, just a gentle lunge. And return, last time here. And reach, hold that shape. And then bring it back together. All right. A little bit of lateral side bending. Okay, we're going to build this. It gets to be a little bit more complex. But for now, just find lateral side bending. Feel like you're sandwiched between 2 walls. So you can't bow out, you can't arch back. You just work here side to side, inhaling up and exhale over. I'll show you where we're going. We inhale up. As you exhale over, I'm going to take my right hand down, counterbalance with my left leg, and find a nice lateral stretch. Similar to a gate pose, kneeling side kick, side plank here we're working into. And with as much control as you can muster, bring yourself back up. Think of like balancing on that right knee temporarily. Try it to the opposite side. So we side bend down, hand finds its way to the mat. My opposite leg reaches out, top hand, fingers getting further away from the toes, picking up my waistband. Should feel pretty yummy. It's a good stretch for that whole lateral line of the body. Slowly with control, find your way back up. You see how tough, and this reminds me of Anne and her Bosu classes. If you've ever tried to balance on one knee on the Bosu, that's essentially what we're doing on our mat. So think about that here as we side bend. That outside leg counterbalances us. Arm reaches, feel that lift. Now, if everything's feeling reasonably well here, you're lifting up the side body, you have the option of extending that bottom leg back, or you can maintain that beautiful plank with knee down, and then bringing that leg back in, bringing yourself back up, opposite side, side bend down, hand can reach behind the head, right? We could just explore head ramping here, or taking the arm further away, feeling a more generous stretch, feeling pretty good there. You could elevate side bodies and find that bottom leg, nice side plank, lifting the earth away, lifting your side bodies away from the earth, and then with control, bringing yourself back up. So I find that just to be a really energizing, awakening stretch. From there, let's move to hands and knees. You're welcome to face me over if that makes it easier for you. Go back to the spine, cat-cows, the flexion. So always good to check in with your spine. I liken it to a bike chain. So each little portion of that bike chain has to be oiled to move freely. Motion is lotion. That's our oil for our spine, for our joints, is movement. I don't care what the movement is, we just need to be moving. One more time here, find that curling. Lift your belly, lift your ribs, allow the head and tail to be heavy there. And then return to a flat back shape here. Okay? So your tummy vacuum. On your inhale, the mechanics are natural that the belly pushes out. On your exhale, I want you to draw the belly in without rounding your spine. Inhale, allow the belly to relax. Exhale, draw the belly in. Feel like your ribs and your hips are getting a little closer together. One more time. Inhale, belly relaxes. Exhale, belly lifts. Keep that connection. Take one arm out in front of you. Pause here. Can you maintain that sense of center? Take the opposite leg out behind you. So you're in a diagonal. Toe can be on the earth or it can be elevated. Try to imagine that your hips are level. We're lucky to have our mirrors, but you want to kind of in your mind's eye determine, am I rotating or am I level? You could have a tea party on the low back. Bring the arm and the knee back in. Opposite side, opposite arm reaches. Head ramp here. Feel the length through the back of the neck. Take that opposite leg out. This is spinal balance. Feel stability here. Feel stretch. Not so much stretching out of your hip and shoulder, but animating the side bodies. Can you get the soft tissue longer? And then bring it back in. Good. Let's alternate that a few times. Take it at your own pace, just feeling extension. And bringing it in. And extend. Return. One more set. Be strong through the mid-back. Don't collapse into your shoulder blades. Good. And then back to center. One hand, place it behind your head. We're moving into rotation again. Press your head into your hands. Hips are level. Rotate your chest, right, to that side of the room. Return back to your center. And again, rotate. Open the heart, but don't disturb the hips. As you come back in, let the elbow reach to elbow. And then open. Explore that range of motion through the upper portion of the spine. And return. One more time. You're still driving through that strong, stable arm. And cross your midline. Return center. But opposite side. Same idea. Hand behind your head. Drive through that mid-back. Use the tips of your fingers here also as support. Be strong through that palm all the way through your shoulder. And then rotate away. And inhale back center. Pull the belly in. Exhale, twist. That'll help stabilize your low back so you're not twisting in the low back. Begin to add elbow to elbow. Explore that movement of your rib cage moving, shoulder blade moving in a Give yourself just a nice little child's pose here. You can allow the head to rest mat. You can also bring your arms in a little bit more. Sometimes people reach so far away they create unnecessary tension. Work your hands to one side for a little lateral stretch. Breathe into that lateral stretch. And then work your hands to the opposite side, creating a long line of energy from that pinky finger to pinky toe. And then returning to the center, a little bit of a barrel roll here. So we're just going to move in and out of that child's pose. I've narrowed up my knees a bit and just feel circumduction, a little rotation there through the hips. And after you do 3 or 4 in one direction, reverse that. Another option is to curl your toes under. So working a little bit of stretch and support through the feet. You'll notice we're not wearing shoes. We want to activate all the way down to our foundation. Nice, pausing in the center. All right. Move to your side. She'll be right back. She's drinking plenty of water these days. So on your side, and this can be uncomfortable for some people because your head is at a bit of an angle. So if you need a blanket or a towel under your head, feel free. I've got my palms together. My knees are at least in line with my hips or a little higher. From there, this is an upper body spiral. Inhale that top arm. Start to allow the chest, the gaze, the arm to open. Feel that connection between your heart and your hand. And then return all the way back in. So notice we are keeping the lower body stable as the upper half finds a generous rotation, done of course to your range of motion. Don't force anything. Connective tissue stretches. Nerves do not like stretch. Nerves glide within their neural sheath. But what we find sometimes is people overstretch and they irritate the nerve. So that is not what we're trying to accomplish by any means. Let's do this one more time. I call this open book. So anytime that you need a little bit more thoracic spine extension, this would be a beautiful one to find. And it's okay to get down on the ground sometimes and explore movement. And then return back to your start. It's a shame Autumn missed that one. She really needs it. That posture of sitting in front of a computer screen, your eyes get fixated, your shoulders tend to slump, your upper back tends to round. We all need these types of movements to nourish and lubricate the body. So this is the Addams family from the Munsters. I think of this as a little finger walk. This hand is working first palm down, and as I proceed, my palm opens up, so I'm still externally rotated in my shoulder, gently following that movement with my gaze. And your gaze is important to how you move. And like I said, if you're always looking at your cell phone, at your computer, our gaze gets fixated and it affects our cervical spine, it affects our ability to actually move through the spine. So think of here, as you pause, take your gaze, just your eyeballs, move into that back hand. And then return, bringing that shape all the way around. Awesome. Okay, sit it up. Let's do that to the opposite side. So you have 2 specific movements to reduce shoulder stress, to improve and enhance rib cage range of motion, thoracic spine range of motion. So lying on that side, we've got our knees at least up towards the hip level, if not a little higher. I don't want you feeling this in your low back. Your hands are together like you're doing the gator chomp. And from here, inhale the arm up, allow the gaze to follow, and then allow that arm to open. And as I said before, having a little towel, a very small pillow or blanket under your head Perfectly fine. Give yourself support where you need it. We're going to repeat this open book a couple more times. As you lift the arm up, friends, notice that this top thigh is wanting to draw back. Do your best to keep it quite stable and in line so that the stretch is isolated towards the upper body and you're not just collapsing into that hip and pelvis. Close it back up. Let's do that one more time. How you doing there, Auburn? Good. Yeah, and then just breathe there. You're doing a nice job gently keeping those legs the same level. Inhale that arm back up and exhale. Close it back to your gator chomp. Good. Now she's going to take her finger walk. So like your hand, and you just start to walk the hand slowly. And as you open up, you feel that same generous pec stretch, rotation. Your palm exactly can turn up. And again, you can see her palm lifts after about halfway through that circle. Technically, you would just end where the fingers want to lift and work on the stretch through that region. Because then we start to kind of accommodate and sacrifice movement when the fingers lift from the floor. We want to try to create true smooth movement through those pecs, through the ribs. Breathe big there. It's a great space in which to breathe. And then return the hand back over that bottom hand, completing your finger walk. So I hope you remember open books and finger walks is particularly helpful to opening your chest, improving that lung expansion. Now we're going to move to some core exercises here. So find your way to your back. Take the hands behind your head. Have your feet flat, knees bent. Take a breath in and gently solidify that position, drawing the belly in and up. I'm not jamming my low back into the mat. I want to keep the front face of my hips as open as possible. And from that place of my belly gently sinking down, lift the head, lift the collarbones, the chest. Awesome, Auburn. And then notice, are you overly tucking? Can you release a little bit, bring the tailbone down towards the earth rather than overly squeezing the glutes? And lower yourself back down. Inhale here. Exhale, find that upper body curl from the head, through the chest, through the shoulders. Check in. Is your head resting in your hands or are you pulling from your neck? Your head should be in the hammock of your hands and lower yourself back down. Good. One more time. Inhaling into that length. Exhale. Find the upper body curl. Hold that. Take your right hand long past your right hip. We're moving towards our 100. Take the left hand long past the left hip. Begin to move those arms up and down. Feel open through the shoulders. We're using a bit of our tricep here. Okay, so rather than just pulsing from the front of my chest, I want to feel some engagement through the back body as I curl up. If all is going reasonably well, extend that right leg long. Keep drawing the belly in and up, lengthen through that inner thigh. Bring the opposite leg up to join it. Now, I don't care what height your legs are at. You could be lower. You could be higher. What I would like to see is you sinking that belly down to your backbone. And breathing, even more important. Breathe in for 5. And exhale for 5. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more time, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we rest. Hug those knees in. After that, we deserve a little stretch movement. So let's take a tick-tock. You're going to keep the knees over the hips and extend the arms, palms up to the sides. Inhale in the center. As you exhale, carry your hips and knees to the right. Don't let the left shoulder blade lift. So we're not going for a full stretch here. We're working the obliques, feeling some length of this left side of the body. Inhale back up. Exhale, hips and knees, opposite direction. Feel the opposite shoulder blade gently on the mat. Inhale back to the center. Exhale, hips and knees in one direction. You can turn and look in the opposite direction. You can even use your eyes. Kind of take your eyes to the corner of those eye sockets. And then bring it back up. As the hips and knees go to the left, let your eyes go to the right. You can turn the head or just focus on the eyes going to the right. Not even turning the head. So many options, so little time. Bring it back up to the center. We're moving a single leg stretch. Bring the hands left hand onto your right knee. Take the left leg long at a diagonal. Curl the upper body. So you're curling nose to knee. Start to lower that left leg. I want you to feel open through this front hip, not jammed up in your hip flexor, but almost like you're pressing down, pressing the hamstring down to the earth as you draw knee to nose, as you sink your belly, and then switch. Reach. Yeah, like you're pressing actively down rather than trying to lift up the leg. Continue here. For 8, breathe 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Rest the head and shoulders down. Second set, double leg stretch. There's a position called the hollow body hold. It's fairly well known in like athletic circles, gymnastics for one. Joe Pilates was a gymnast. You're going to reach the arms back. Let's just go about a third of the way back. Curl the head and shoulders up. Yeah. Sink the belly down and begin to extend those legs in the opposite direction, like you're in a hammock, a canoe shape of your body, and then hug it all back in. Let's do it again. We're going to start a little differently. Curl the head and shoulders. And now start to reach the arms behind you. Reach the legs out in front. Good. Exhale, sweep the arms around, hug the knees in. We're going to go for 4 of these. Inhale, reach. Exhale, hug in 4. Inhale, stretch the center. Exhale for 3. Inhale, we reach. Exhale, 2. Last time, reach. And hug it in 1. Good. All right, last one that we're going to do here in the core series. Hands come behind your head. This is a crisscross, kind of the old-fashioned bicycle. We're going to take it slow. Knees into the chest, head resting in the hands. Curl your upper body. Feel the elbows slightly projected forward rather than behind you. That's it. Good. Let's keep that left knee in. Reach your right leg long. Now rotate your right rib towards that left hip. Take your gaze towards that back elbow. Feel your hips stable on the mat. They haven't rotated with you. Inhale back to the center. Right knee and left leg long. Take left rib towards right hip. Keep curling up, up, up. Yes. Inhale back to the center. Exhale, curl up as you rotate over. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist, rotate. Hold 3, 2, 1. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Hold 3, 2, 1. Last time. A lot of times people shortchange themselves and they reach with the elbow rather than thinking rib to hip. Yeah, and then rest it in. Good. Take a full body stretch. Reach the fingers back behind you. Reach those legs nice and long. One more general kind of hip mobility stretch while we're here on our back. Cross your right knee over your left. So right knee over left. Okay, use your exhale to then float those knees up. Take the hands towards your shins, towards the ankles here, and just pause and breathe here. I'm applying a little bit of pressure, kind of taking those heels a little wider apart. My shins can either be down, a little less work, or shins more parallel to the earth, or to the sky, right? Parallel in both directions. Pausing there, breathing there. Just applying a little bit of pressure there to your tolerance, your comfort. And then release. Bring those feet back towards the earth. Go left over right this time. From the strength of your low core, your legs are heavy. We use them as weights to strengthen our core, picking those hips and knees up. Hands can again find their way near your ankles. Pausing, breathing there. Maybe shins are parallel. And like, you could already just go parallel with the legs. If you prefer, that's fine too. You're finding the stretch, right? Everybody's going to look different. Everyone's working working within their frame of their body and dealing with their own restrictions or tightness. And then release, hug both knees into the chest and make some gentle circles here. Sometimes people can be hyper-flexible, and in those cases they may be more at risk of injury. And then there's those of us, and I tend to be on the tight side myself, you're less prone to injury because of the amount of restriction that you experience in that connective tissue. I'm probably more flexible now than I was when I was Auburn's age, but I understand I'm probably to blame for the difficulty in moving. Come on up to sitting. Let's lift the back a little bit. Okay, so moving onto your belly. We're at 45 minutes. My goodness. All right, we'll finish up here. So bring yourself down to what we call a prone position. Remember those butt kicks that we did earlier? We're going to find them here by pressing those pinky edges of the arms into the earth. I want you to draw your ribs in, lift your belly. This is going to be a slow movement. I'm trying to find a posterior tilt of my tailbone. So I'm dropping my tailbone down as I start to bend one knee towards my bottom. I can flex that ankle, right. Big hamstring work, but also big stretch to the front of the hip. And then return that leg down. Keep driving to the earth, pull the belly in, draw the tail feathers under. Opposite leg starts to draw in. Good. And then release it back down. Rest your forehead down to the earth. Reach long through your right leg. Let it hover above the ground. Here again, hip extension. And Auburn's doing a nice job of keeping the front face of the hip into the earth. So we're not using our low back to find extension. Lower that leg down. Opposite leg. Lengthen so long that it lifts. Feel the reach. There's a lot of energy in the reaching of the leg that then gives you lift. Continue there a few times, just an alternating hip extension. Feel a little lift of your abdominals into you, so you're stabilizing your low back. You're relaxing your shoulders. And you're reaching those legs long. And then rest the legs. Allow your forehead just to rest on your hands. Lengthen long through the legs. And you're going to gently rotate and look under your left arm. So there's a slight rotation, translation of the body. Come back to the center. And then gently peer under your right arm. And then back to the center. You might wonder why we're just planted down, making these very small movements. These movements of lateral translation of your thoracic spine allow you to better extend your spine. So it's a little bit of building. If you come back to the center now, draw the throat towards like the back of the neck. So feel that head ramp again. Float your head and float your arms. Start to find an upper body extension and then rest it back down. Try that again. Find that length through the crown of the head. Feel like you're looking up underneath your eyebrows. That sense of gazing up, picking yourself up. Yep, you can bring the arms with you if it's available and lower back down. That sense of looking up underneath your eyes is going to help you find extension, lifting. Good, and lower back down. If that felt like a bit of work, you're doing it correctly. Take a child's pose. Bring your hips back to your heels. Perhaps you like bringing the hands to your ankles. So making yourself into a little smaller ball shape. All right, so that was a bit of core work, a bit of energy, kind of hugging muscle to bone with that contraction and strengthening. Now we're going to relax a little bit. Auburn, and welcome to leave if you want. I understand you're on a college timetable. We'll take some nice hip stretches. So if you have a towel, a belt to tie, whatever you might have around, use it and lasso. Let's go right foot. Lasso your right foot. You may find that it's more comfortable for you to start a little less stress to the low back, to have the opposite knee bent. that is fine too. And from this straight leg hamstring stretch, just bring hip and knee flexes, and then hip and knee extends a few times. So a little bend, and a little straighten. And a little bend. As I reach up with my heel, again, I'm going back to that core, reaching down with my belly. And then pause, explore what it's like to extend your left leg. That may be an option to you, and if so, that's going to help you open up the front face of the hip. Let's carry the right leg to the right side of the room, introducing an an inner thigh stretch. Left hand on left hip can remind you to not roll the whole body. I'm stabilizing the left side as I gently stretch through my right. I hope you're feeling well right now. I sure have enjoyed bringing this mindful movement class to you. It just flew by. I hope maybe you gained a little bit of insight or awareness into your own body. Bring that leg back up to the start. Take the left hand onto the strap. Carry your right arm out to the side and start to introduce that IT band stretch. So you don't have to go far here. You want to keep that right hip down on the earth and then just draw the leg maybe 20, 30 degrees across your body. I'm not looking for a pelvis rolling, a twist. I'm just looking for that outer hip to ankle range to find a gentle stretch. Still breathing here. Good. And then back to the center. Curl the nose towards the knee. So walk up that strap an inch or two and rest yourself back down. Great. All right, opposite foot. Opposite foot in. You can be bending on the opposite side or straight leg. Maybe a little bit of both. You might work into it a bit. I'm just bending and stretching hip and knee. Feel like your shoulders are wide here, collarbones are wide, belly sinking down. Pause in that nice hamstring extension. Start to extend the opposite leg out. Think of your tailbone reaching towards the earth rather than tucking underneath you. We're not jamming the low back into the earth. We'll take an inner thigh stretch. So left leg carrying to the left side of the room. Maybe right hand to right hip, just to remind you to gently stay solid through that right side. Breathe there. Open shoulders. And then returning to the center, the IT band, we start to draw the leg over the midline of the body, not popping up off my hip. Not that that would necessarily be wrong, it's just a different intention. Right now we want to isolate more into that IT band. Breathe there. A fixed point from which we stretch. So my pelvis is the fixed point from which I lengthen my hip joint. And then return back home. Let's walk up that strap and interview, curling the nose. Yeah, just gently drawing yourself up. And then resting it back down. Take the strap off the foot. Give those legs a nice shape. And then figure four. So feet flat, right ankle over left thigh. Take your right hand, press into that right hip joint. Make space between the thigh and the hip bone. Feel like your abdominals are still gently drawing in and up. Now this is a stretch already for a lot of people. If you feel like you benefit from more, you can float that left leg. Keep the head resting on the ground. Keep your shoulders square to the ceiling. Find a gentle stretch there. Return the left foot down. Cross more deeply, right knee over left if that's available to you. And then gently allow the hips and knees to go to the left. Gentle twist here. So this again frees up some space in that thoracic rib cage region. Breathe into it. Can you imagine your lungs as giant balloons and you're just inflating them as big as you can with air? And then you can use that bottom foot to help you bring the legs back to your start. Uncross Let's see now, left ankle over right thigh, left hand to left thigh, make space in that hip joint. More of a stretch, floating that foot. And then bringing the foot back to the earth, you have the option of crossing the legs. If that's uncomfortable, you can just do both knees parallel and move to that rotation as well. So whatever works for you, gently rotating, upper body staying square, breathing there. And then the strength of the core helps you to come back up to the center, uncross those legs, rock and roll yourself up to sitting. Just a little shoulder stretch here using our band. So whether it be a tie, a belt, or towel, take it out in front of you. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. You may need to widen them as you carry them back behind you. Right. Now go back into our kind of fundamental alignment points, that little head ramp, so we're not projecting the neck forward. Our head is behind our heart. Our side bodies are lifting. And we're trying to decrease the tendency to overarch and flare the ribs. One more time, we'll end on the up. Find that up. Take a little side bend to one side. Anchor the opposite hip. Return back to the center. Side bend. And back up. Great. I can't thank you enough for tuning in, for being a part of home training and Pleasant Valley Tennis and Fitness. Thank you for hosting this live show. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you feel better, that you learned something, and know that we're thinking about you and looking forward to getting back together in the days ahead. Take care, be well, always reach out if you have any questions. Thanks again.